I have to say it is a proud local person that is standing here this morning in Castleknock Hotel in the area where I chose to come to live myself about 30 years ago, and to see the turnout and the diversity and the interests of the people involved here today. I'm hoping that it will make for a very, very, very interesting workshop conference, and that there will be useful interaction in the workshops, and the outcome of that hopefully will allow us to inform our work going forward as a local authority in terms of meeting the needs of our new communities. I was just to say, on a personal level, from having come from the country to live in Dublin, and I just lived, I was the only country person living in the estate, in a sense has always kind of stayed with me about how you feel about that. I got an opportunity to take part in some community groups and went on there and got involved and got lots of different things done, I hope, for our area. But as time went on and some of our new communities started to arrive, while I'd been hugely involved in community development across all aspects, whether it was welfare rights, housing, community development, adult education, when our new communities started to arrive, and even before that, there was always little undercurrents about maybe different pieces of parts of the population. So I took the advantage once upon a time to do a course called Racism and Ethnicity. And so enthusiastic was I about it that I actually brought one of my children to Pavey Point with me. And it was a wonderful eye-opener, really, to see how other people lived. And I suppose while the quality of life was difficult for everybody, it was particularly difficult for the ladies that lived in the halting sites with no power and no water. But what I thought was absolutely wonderful, about a week later in school, that the teacher told me that Aoife had gone back and relayed what she had learned in Pavey Point to the other children in the class and talked about their special language. And isn't that what this is all about today? That's just a small example of how you start something small and see where it takes you. But before my troubles anyway, early in the 1990s, I think I organised what was the first ever, with the full-hearted support and funding from Fingal County Council, the first multicultural day that was ever organised in Ireland. It involved myself visiting all of the embassies, all of the consulates, and we ended up with 27 stalls with food, flags, history, ran some competitions for the children. I didn't think it was just enough for them to come and taste the food or pick up a leaflet. We wanted them to engage and to remember what they learned about each of the countries. And I think that was another stage in my own development of understanding the needs of diverse communities. Now, I have to say, Fingal County Council, as a local authority, is really, really excellent at this. And we have had at one time a social inclusion policy. But you can't do anything in isolation. Everything has to be dovetailed and worked together. So you can't work in one area in isolation from everything else. So part of the outcome of today's conference, we're hoping, is through the knowledge and your input into the workshops, that you will be able to help inform and guide the work of Fingal County Council going forward. I suppose just to say, and I don't want to take up too much time, but it is important, the population of Fingal is very diverse. I mean, and this has been happening for a long time. I think we were first invaded by the Vikings, and this is where we get our name from, the fair-haired stranger. Then the Normans came and they told us they were nearly as Irish as ourselves. And in more recent times, of course, the lovely people like some of the ladies and gentlemen we've sitting here today chose to come to Ireland for whatever the reason that they needed to come. And some came to Fingal. And in the last census that was taken, 27% of people in this area declared themselves to be non-white and non-Irish. And this would be very much reflected in the type and number of events that I have been attending since becoming mayor almost a year ago. And up to Christmas, I would say that almost on a 2/3 to 1/3 split, I was actually attending events organised by people from other communities. And I have to say, it has been the greatest learning experience and the greatest privilege. My geography has improved. I love and have absorbed the cultures and the traditions of the people I've met. And, you know, Dublin 15, it is a great melting pot. And for the people who've come to live here, you're living in an area where we have the biggest shopping centre in the country, the biggest library in the country, the third largest county council local authority in the country, and that's actually very quickly becoming, even though we're a small area geographically, we're about to become officially, I think, the second largest local authority in the country. So we're very lucky because we have the airport in our region, and it allows us to have good commercial rates. And we have a whole new direction of Fingal County Council now looking at economic development. And economic development is now bringing together community development as it was in the past, and all of these different bodies. And the idea is, if we promote the county economically and on a tourist basis, that the money we make and the profit can be ploughed back in. So while you might think it's about economic development, we can't have the community development without the economic development. But I'm not going to go on much longer, just to say that in all of my time, I suppose, I've been involved in over 50 local groups and organisations, and some nationally. And I think that's why days like today are so important. Even when I didn't know I was learning something, I was learning something. And it's when people meet, they talk, they interact, and they organise themselves, is when people become stronger within themselves, within their families, and within their communities. And I always had a great mantra that back in the late 80s, in the last recession, there was almost 70% unemployment in the estate that I lived in. And the thing was, if we could get people to come out of their home, avail of some training, some support, whatever it was, that if we could bring people out of their homes and they liked what they saw and they felt comfortable, that if we could bring them out, that they would stay out. And I suppose the nub of the whole thing is if we could help mothers, support them, maybe return to education, whatever it was, my mantra had been, if we have happy mammies, we'll have happy homes. And if we've happy homes, we've happy communities. And everything is just as basic and actually as simple as that. But I think the fact that so many people have come here today from so many different backgrounds, from all over Fingal, that the Minister would take time out to come to speak with us. And I've met the Minister on numerous occasions, and I have to congratulate this government for this. In the past, I think multiculturalism and the needs and all the diversity belonged did not belong in any one place. Pieces were in housing, pieces were in in the Department of the Environment. I think what this government did to appoint a minister to look at our new communities and integration, I think has been a huge positive. And I think lots and lots of things will flow from this. I have to say, on behalf of Fingal County Council and Mr. Reid, our Chief Executive, your interaction in Fingal and with the groups, I have to say, has been exceptional. And every time I'm going to meet you, I can't wait to meet you, because I know what you bring. And even the first time I met you, you took the massive selfie at the Black Film Festival. I've never forgotten you for that. But before I finish, there's one thing, just I suppose a little step backwards. We have a good record actually in Dublin 15, because many years ago there was an organisation set up called BURN, and it was Blanchardstown for Asylum Seekers and Refugees Network. And I mean, while some of the needs have changed, some of them have remained the same. But I was going to say one more thing before I finish, and now it's absolutely gone out of my head. I cannot think what it was. But all I can say to everybody who has come here today, thank you so much. As I said, for somebody living in Dublin 15, to think so many people took the effort to travel here today, I'm hugely appreciative of that. But I have to just, one more thing about Fingal County Council. I know, recently I was on a steam train and we actually ran out of steam while I was talking about Fingal County Council. I joke not. But no, we're very well organised, and we have 6 great directors of services. Anne-Marie Farley is here today as the Head of Housing, Community and Sport. Pat Queenan is here today as a Senior Community Officer. I know Janet Ivers would love to be with us, but she's had a bereavement and can't be with us. But what Fingal County Council put into their work, to meet the needs of the community is quite exceptional. And I suppose just to mention some of the departments, the Community Development Unit, the Sports Partnership, the Arts Office, all working so hard, dealing on issues and trying to bring them to fruition every day for you. And let us just acknowledge one other group of people, the faith-led groups and the faith communities all around Dublin 15 who do allow people to come to a place of worship and do their worship in their own groups and that. And what I was saying to one of the ladies this morning is, what we need to do is when people leave that venue and they go back to their homes, we need to provide something in between. As I said when I started, if we get people out, we've got to keep them out. We've got to make it meaningful. Their interaction has to be meaningful. It has to mean something to them. And as I said, hopefully we'll build a better community going forward. So again, thank you very much. And I'm indebted to Pat Queenan and her staff and Eugene Moore and Linda Ennis. And now when you start mentioning names, you're going to leave somebody out. See Anne Mulligan down there. But really, I suppose the community department has been the backbone. Policies change and policies come and go. People change, staff come and go. If there's been one thing that has been constant in Fingal County Council, it has been the community department. And the reason being is most of the people live locally. They started off as volunteers themselves. So they know the struggle, they know the challenge, but they're very, very good at meeting it head on. And I think in leading today's conference, I am indebted to them for experience, their guidance, and the professional approach that they've taken to it. And I think this is a conference that can stand tall and stand strong with any gathering and conference that I've been to date. So the best of luck to everybody today, and I'm going to call on our esteemed Chief Executive, Mr. Paul Reid.